I can't imagine a more effective antidote to this cold, nasty, rainy day in central Oklahoma than this ebullient G major string quartet, the fifth in published order of Joseph Haydn's Opus 33 set, published in 1782 and admired and responded to directly by Haydn's young friend Mozart. I've mentioned this relationship before and will again suggest that a comparison between the quartets of Opus 33 and those of Mozart's Opus 10, dedicated to Haydn, would be a worthwhile music history lesson. The Opus 33 quartets include a tremendous range of affect and formal innovation, and even a casual comparison between this one and the one that precedes it is instructive. The B-flat major quartet that I treated in my last video is overall a light work, immensely clever, but not terribly demanding on the listener. This G major dissertation, on the other hand, is a masterpiece, and manuscript evidence suggests that it's actually the first of the Opus 33 set to be composed. Its nickname is owing to a gallant little gesture that opens the first movement, the musical equivalent of a bow or curtsy, with a rhythmic profile that suggests the greeting, "How do you do?" This initially serves as an anacrusis to the main theme, but returns at significant points in the composition, at the beginning of the recap, for instance, and as the final gesture of the coda, and Haydn manages to weave it into the main theme itself. The first movement's second theme is not like those of other Opus 33 quartets that we've encountered. What we've seen heretofore are second groups that comment on the opening theme itself and are usually through-composed, reeling out great skeins of contrasting ideas that entertain royally, but do not supply the kind of contrast that we see here. For here we have a real second theme, delivered initially over a cello pedal point, a theme of Mozartian grace and allure. One of the most striking features of the opening movement's ambitious development section is, in fact, a tragic-sounding E minor setting of that sweet theme. The themes are not merely brought back during the recap, but are enlarged upon and significantly transformed, and the coda begins with a sudden lunge into the flat submediant, E-flat major, and returns anon to the G major light to finish gently with the same greeting that opened the movement. I should point out that both large sections of this movement are marked for repeat as usual, and as usual, the Kodály Quartet has chosen to ignore the second repeat. And just this once, I find myself in agreement with their executive decision. The coda really does end the movement, and I can't imagine that either the music or its auditors would be benefited and enriched by a redundant trip through it. This quartet is another of Haydn's homotonal quartets, so the ABA form slow movement is set in the parallel key. The entire movement is an aria for the first violin, adopting the posture of a tragic opera heroine, perhaps Eurydice. The movement includes a cadenza set up in the traditional way, and the coda is haunting in the extreme. The scherzo movement stands in high contrast to that G minor tragedy, reveling in good humor and even taunting the listener with that enervating pause just before the final cadence in both its first and second strains. The trio furnishes a demure contrast to all this tomfoolery. And the finale is another variation set, this one a graceful Siciliano theme in 2 repeated strains. There are 3 variations, and the third is a double variation, which is to say that the repeats are written out for further internal varying. You'll see why Haydn did that in due course. And the up-tempo coda begins with a pared-down statement of the thema's first strain, now resolved to the tonic, and ends with high humor and G major insistence. This is one of those compositions that leaves me smiling when I've heard it, and today is a day when such smiles are needed and welcome. The Kodály Quartet's recording can be found on the Naxos label.